Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the REDX podcast. I'm your host, Haley Johnson, and today we've got a very exciting guest with us. We have Tamela Staubs. How are you, Tamela?
I'm doing great. How are you, Haley?
Doing well, doing well. We're happy to have you today. Just a couple things before we get started. If you are watching us live right now, if you just want to pop in the chat, say who you are, where you're from, and we can get that started. We want this to be a participatory event. So if you have questions for Tamela, then please put them in the chats anywhere that you're watching on our website, on Facebook, anything like that. And that will get relayed over to me so that we can ask Tamela all of your most burning questions and things like that. So to get started, Tamela, why don't you tell the audience who you are, what you do, a little introduction to you.
So my name is Tamela Staubs, and I serve the Florida area. I started out 15 years in Palm Beach County, Florida, specifically in Boynton Beach. And when I started out real estate, I had 6 listings in 5 weeks, and that was little over 18 years ago now. So It started out with for sale by owners originally as well, because I was brand new to the area. I didn't know a soul, and I had just moved to Florida 1 month before I got my real estate license, had a small daughter and a husband.
Wow.
That was beginning. Yep. So old school. And now I'm up on the Treasure Coast, up in St. Lucie County. I still serve Palm Beach County, and I did do 2 years over in Orlando as well. So each time that I've started, one of the ways to assist is to go back to for sale by owners, because they are ready, willing, and able, and they want to sell their property. They're basically raising their hand and saying, please help me. Although some of them are educated and can do it on their own, but many really do want and desire our help. So that's a little bit about where I am and who I am now. I have my own brokerage, which I absolutely love. And I think I answered a bit of it.
That's awesome. Well, I love that you said you were brand new to an area and that's how you started in real estate. And that seems like it would be a little bit of a task to not know much, because I mean, the first thing when people get into the business are like, work your sphere of influence. And so if you didn't really have one in the area, how did you get started? What was the most successful activities in the beginning? You mentioned for sale by owners, but what else?
So in the very beginning, when I started 18 years ago, it was so much different than now because we didn't have the technology.
Right.
We didn't have the ability to go online and do this at that time, which is amazing that we fast forwarded. So when I first started out in the business, I knocked on doors way back in the day. I distributed information to help sellers with their property. And then as I started to get involved in the community, of course, then I developed a sphere of influence, which is important to keep track of the people that you know on some type of a contact management system.
Right.
Always, for your entire life and your entire career. So when I started out, I went to preview properties to figure out what was in the area, because you can still go see properties, especially if they're vacant and no one's occupying, even during COVID. And that sort of gives you a lay of the land. What are the properties? Where am I going to? What does this structure look like? Is it, for us in Florida, extremely important, is it CBS or is it frame? Is it in a community with a homeowners association or not? And start compiling information about that subdivision or about that area, or maybe the school districts. So back in the day, we would knock the doors. We would go to properties that, were potentially selling, whether it was a for sale by owner. We would find signs that were on the street. We would drive around neighborhoods. Even back then, we pulled out the newspaper. I know that's antiquated now, but that's what we used to do. That was also back in the day when we didn't have these cell phones either, and we weren't able to go right on here and it'd be a computer in our pocket,
Right.
nor the cameras. So back that day, it was a little bit different, obviously, that we were able to knock on the doors and go from door to door. And that was extremely important. And to get engaged, become part of your community, niche it down. Do you like something like, playing softball? Do you like to play tennis? What is it, something that you enjoy doing, and become a group and actually offer your services to that group? Maybe it's going to a local community center as they open, and I know at this time they may not be open, but you could offer a virtual in that area, a virtual educational seminar to some of the people that are in that area, maybe from the community center, and start to educate, help people. We're really here in this business to help, and it's so important that we realize we're part of a team. It is absolutely, we are part of a team, and we're part of a team with the seller as well to help them.
I love it. I love that you said become a part of your community. So whether you're new to the area or you're not, just find something that you like, get into it, and offer your services. I love it. So you mentioned you went door knocking and things like that in the beginning. Would your advice change as like we have now? We have technology and all of those things. How would it be different now, or what are you doing differently now? That will still generate the same amount of business?
So to me, it's extremely important to do a follow-up as well. So the calls from REDX, on REDX, the beauty of REDX, taking what we talked about another step further. So what to do now? The beauty is now we have a system that keeps all of that information. So I used to pull up maybe a for sale by owner's phone number. I would cross-reference that number and I would find out where that person might live. Then I would go to the tax roll and I might pull the information. So I knew a little bit about the property before I spoke to the person.
Right.
And I might even pull the pictures. REDX integrates with the other company where they pull in the information if someone has been a for sale by owner on some of these other sites. So we have a little bit of information that we didn't have back then. So one of the things now that's beautiful about REDX that wasn't back then is that we can pull the information from all the other sources. But to answer your question, what do I do differently now? Well, instituting REDX and being able to keep all my data in one location, I don't lose it on a piece of paper over here or a sticky note over there, and I can access it from my car. There's no longer any excuse to not be able to make calls. Back in those days, there was an excuse. I didn't have the computer readily available at my hands. I didn't have the person's contact information. Now I could be pulled over in between appointments and I can actually make a call from there and put the notes right in the contact information. So I have it readily available now, and that's something different. The other thing is if I'm driving through a neighborhood with a buyer and they want to know about a property, I have the potential to pull it up right there. And I can answer their questions and may be able to even pick up a client or a potential for sale by owner right there from that property at that time. So that's a little bit different than it was previously.
Love technology, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And it's the face-to-face and belly-to-belly. It's so important to interact, whether it's this way on the camera, we can send a short video message to their phone number. That's the ability nowadays as well that we didn't have back then. Back then it was that old flip phone, right? We opened up the flip phone.
Right. I just want to say hi to our live audience, a couple people that are watching: Amanda, Tony, Luxury Homes, Jerry, Eloisa, Grant, Crystal, Bridget, more. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for telling us you're here. Be sure to ask your questions throughout the podcast. So a few things that you said. Technology is amazing, so take advantage of it. There's no excuse anymore, which I love as well. Awesome. And so I want to talk a little bit about for sale by owners, because a lot of people are asking how you're prospecting to them, because right now it's pretty easy to sell a house on your own, especially with low inventory, and the interest rates right now it's just crazy. It's a lot easier to be a seller. So what services are you providing to these for sale by owners to make them want to list with you, especially during right now?
So one of the important services that I offer is the Matterport camera. I do the 3D 24/7 tour. And with COVID, it's extremely important to have that available to your sellers, because people from all across the country might want to see that property, but they might have some fear, and there might be some fear based on the seller side as well as the buyers. And even though we're taking precautions, and even though the mask, there are some people that still don't want others to come into their house. It's a little bit different, I think, here in Florida, because we have so many wide open spaces. And we have lots of outdoor space. So it's a little bit different there than might be where other people are located, where it's a bit more closed in. However, it still is extremely important that we honor that. So the tour of the property, doing a short video ahead of time for the property and letting them know that I can come by, I can do a short video, I can do virtual tours of the property so that people are not coming in and out of your house constantly. And then the other thing still, to me, they're still part of, I have a very simple little postcard that I send when I'm on the phone. I'll take the back of the postcard, permanent marker, I'll put in their contact information. If I reach them while I'm on REDX, great. If I don't, that's great. I'm still going to send out a short little inexpensive postcard just to make that first connection. And then when I call back, I have the opportunity to ask questions and see if they did receive it.
Right. So that gets kind of into your follow-up system that you have. So let's say you're calling for sale by owners though, and they're saying, Tamela, listen, right now I can sell this on my own. What are you saying to that specific objection?
Well, you still might be able to sell on your own, and that's possible. But the amount of experience comes into play. So I can honor and I understand that you have the ability to sell the property on your own. I fully respect that. However, there could be some things that can come up in the property. Just as an example, this week, I had a situation where we had a fence that came into play. And how are we going to get to closing? The seller wasn't familiar. She was out of state. She had already left. And the buyer was here local, but she was going to lose her dream home over a couple of pieces of fence that needed to be taken care of. So how did we get through that? Most sellers who are a for sale by owner don't know how to get through that. So many times the importance of our expertise comes into play. I got them to closing. We put some money into escrow. I worked with a long-standing law office that I've been working with for many years. We did the terminology and we added the addendums that were necessary to make sure that we got them to closing. So it's many times explaining and offering your expertise. And we can also do that contact list, dropping off some information to them as well, dropping it at their door, emailing it, but being of service. That's one of the biggest differences. And if they do sell the property on their own, congratulations, and honor that, because they may have referrals or they might be buying a property and they might need a knowledgeable, educated real estate agent to help them with that purchase on the other side. We never know where the business might come from, and it's important to always be in service. It comes back around.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. There's a lot in there I want to dive into. It's awesome. So your expertise, because I think for sale by owners are like, no, I got this. I can do it, whatever. And maybe they can, but they just don't have the knowledge that you do as however many years you've been in real estate, that you know how to price the property correctly or things that come up, And what's nice is oftentimes for sale by owners, they do price it wrong. And so they'll either be on the market forever or they didn't get as much as they could have out of the home, right? So, so hiring an agent would be for expertise. Also, just be of service. I think a lot of people are just like in it for the buck and that's it, and they get out. And it sounds like your strategy is more, I want to be there for you, whether or not you need my services, because maybe you'll need me in the future. So that's just like building up your sphere of influence, right? Like, hey, you might not need me. Great. You can go sell your home, but I'll be here whenever you need my services. So be their friend, right?
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Be there to be the helpful knowledge, because they may come across a question and you never know, that buyer may fall apart. And once they've been through that transaction one time and they've been through the ups and downs, the highs, the lows, the sideways, they might call you up and say, you know what, that first buyer didn't work out and you gave me the most knowledge, the most information, and you were helpful. And I really respect and appreciate that.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's say you're on the phone, like you said, and they said, no, I can sell it. It's fine. What does your follow-up look like? So you said that you send them a postcard. What do you do after that?
So the postcard goes in. Also, the beauty of REDX is that we have the ability to put in our notes right in the contact information. And then we can export it out of REDX and put it into another system if we choose to put them on a drip, or stay right there in REDX, and then you can schedule your next call. So for me, the first one call, if I don't reach them, they go back into the log to call again. The postcard, as we talked about for the follow-up, set it up for another phone call. And I might do a contact list in between there. Depending on the area that I'm going to be in, I have a folder that I put together and I'll put some information in to drop it off just so that they know. Some houses are approachable, some are not. If it's in a gated community and you're not supposed to solicit, you need to follow wherever your rules and your restrictions are. But for many of our properties, we have the ability to be able to drop something off. So if that's available, then yes, drop something off. Otherwise, you have their phone number. There isn't anything wrong with doing a text message to someone, letting them know that you're there of service. We have text messages. We have the ability to do a short video. Hey, how are you doing? I just wanted to let you know I'm Tamela Staubs. I'm in your area. I really love to help sellers. If you have any questions, give me the opportunity to answer them. That's simple. Couple seconds, that's all you need. If you have other outlets that you use, maybe you have video on your website, or maybe you have a blog, but you can always help them by sending them that information, sending them tips as well. So that's a follow-up system that works. And especially the ones that I love to help are the people that are out of town. So many times we have so many out of town sellers, and they really do need our help. There's so many intricacies that they're not familiar with.
I love how simple this seems. So how many times would you call a lead before you're like, all right, this isn't a good lead?
Forever, until they've listed. So they've either listed with me, they've listed with someone else, or they've actually taken their house off the market. If someone says that they have taken their house off the market, that doesn't necessarily mean that they've taken their house off the market. It could mean that they're just trying to avoid the calls. So as many times as it takes, it doesn't matter. I've had calls that'll be 3 months long. It doesn't matter. I mean, it depends on what the situation is. If it's a property that I really feel I can help, they might just be waiting, and they might be in a situation where they're trying out the market. They don't know yet. They haven't been across. It might be their first time, might be their 12th time. And investors do list as well. I know that that's a fallacy many times.
That's great. So and follow-up, it seems follow-up is so important that if you keep following up and you keep calling, and eventually they have to either answer the phone or tell you to go away, or they've listed the property or whatever, what do you think, why don't agents follow up more? Is it because they don't want to seem annoying, or they just forget about it, they don't have a good system in place?
A lot of times they'll just give up. Excuse me, getting a little bit dry. Forgive me for a moment here.
No worries.
And that happens on the phone as well. So why don't they follow up? A lot of times people just give up. Agents just give up a lot of times, and they don't want to be annoying as well. And I think that it's important to remember in the back of your mind that you're helping. You know, we're really helping people. I'm not here to hurt someone. I'm not here to take away the money that they can make. I'm here to help. And I think that that gets lost, and agents just give up. They don't keep making the calls. But the reality is, if you look at the percentage, if you continue, the agents have all fallen off within the first week, the first 2 weeks, and maybe even the first 3 weeks. By that month time frame, most agents are no longer calling them. They've narrowed it down. And it may not just be calls, it could be a text. It's a good idea to stagger it as well. So some calls, some texts, but staying in communication is the most important. And even 3 postcards.
That's awesome. And it sounds like if you keep the mindset that you're helping people, then you're not bothering anyone, because you're like, okay, for sale by owner, if I believe that I'm of service and that I can get them the most money that they can, and I will help them with my expertise, just remember that, right? And then it's a lot easier to make those calls because you have confidence.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And many times we're able to take the price of the property, depending on the area. Again, I know Bridget was watching at one point. In her area, it's completely different. Her area, there's a lot more, her properties are higher priced, and they're going within hours. So each area is a little bit different. But even in the heyday, when our market here in Florida was going crazy, we still were able to be of service. But many times we can add the commission to the sales price of the property, and then yield them a higher price, shorter amount of time, and less inconvenience. And I think that's important to let them know as well. You know, many for sale by owners, they get tired of showing their property after a certain period of time.
I bet.
It becomes tiring. So even if they are selling it in the first couple of days, what do you do with multiple offers? If you're a for sale by owner and you get 5 offers on your property, and you think that cash might be a great situation, however, you find out that they've made it cash, but it's contingent on an actual appraisal of the property within 7 days. And those are things for attorneys as well. I have to say, I am not an attorney, so we can fill in the contracts as in most states. So it's obviously a good idea to defer to the attorney. However, there might be some things that I can read that I can share. So it helps many times as far as that goes. Did I answer that question fully?
Yeah, that was great. And it just sounds like it's a lot easier to just hire a realtor, right? Instead of having to deal with plus people that are attached to the home, there's a lot of emotions involved. But if you have a realtor, excuse me, that you hire, it just takes care of a lot of stuff, and it seems a lot nicer.
I was talking to a builder today. I have the opportunity to work with a builder on many homes, and one of the things that he said to me is that a potential buyer wanted to have a conversation with him, and he said, I just really don't want to be in the front. I don't want to be in the conversation so much. Not that I'm not willing to answer questions, as he said to me, because he's straight. He comes from the heart. He's an amazing builder, but he wants to step out of that role. And so we spoke about how important it is to have the real estate agents to be able to negotiate, because it does keep that emotion away from buyer and seller. The buyer wants to buy, the seller wants to sell. With the real estate agents in the middle, it takes away a lot of that emotional attachment, because many people have watched their children grow up in homes, or they've watched them go off to high school or to college, or maybe the grandbabies were in the house and now they're downsizing. All of that's emotional when they're walking around the house. So it really is, to me, it is a lot easier. And before I was in the business, I even used a real estate agent to buy and sell my property.
Wow. Well, there you go. So
I'm a perfect testimonial.
Yeah. So we have a couple questions coming in from our viewers. Grant wants to know, what do you use as your CRM?
My particular CRM, I'm actually old school, so it's been in there for a long time. I'm an old Wise Agent user. There are a lot of other ones that you could use now. But when you're starting out, what I would suggest is use the REDX system. So go on REDX, you start out with your information, you can put your notes in there, and then you can transfer it over once it is actually a lead and you really have communication with them, or you want to do something further. There was a time where I took all of my REDX leads, I dumped them into a CRM, and I regretted every day of it, because they were not actually people that I was going to stay in connection with.
Okay.
Does that answer?
Yeah, that's great. And then we have another question from Amanda. She says, other than commission, what are some common for sale by owner objections that you've heard, and how do you address them? So let's talk objections. What do you usually get? Of course, other than commission, which is a very popular one. What else do you hear from these people?
Most of the objections, there's a reason for them. And I like to get objections because I know what route to go. So another objection right now, as most people know, is with COVID coming into the property. So it's extremely important to let them know what technology that you have available and how you can assist them with your technology, because they're going to be dealing with the same things of people coming in and out of their house. The other one that typically comes up is the knowledge. A lot of times there'll be an objection based on the knowledge. Well, no, I can sell it on my own. I've sold 5 other properties. Acknowledging them first and letting them know that it's okay, I understand and I respect the fact that you have sold many properties on your own. Maybe there's some documents, maybe there's some things I can help with. So definitely, as she stated, Amanda, it would be definitely commission would be the number one that I typically have heard. The other is coming into the property is important, because they need to know how you're going to handle that differently for them. The other one that comes up a lot is marketing. They'll say that today it doesn't cost anything to market the property. And it's important to let them know where you might be advertising. You might even have that on a sheet that you can send them. These are the 25 things that I do. These are the 5 ways that I market. I'm in contact with buyers that are coming from, depending on your area, maybe for us, it's coming from New York or coming from California. I know that some other areas, we were talking earlier, that they're going to other coastlines. So it's important to let them know, statistically, where the buyers and sellers, because objections a lot of times will come from, I can just sell it myself, I can sell it on my own, right? But they don't know where the buyers are coming from. So that's another objection that we'll get, that I've received many times. If she types in another one, I might have an objection handler, I'm not sure. So Amanda,
awesome. If you have any more objections that you want to hear handlers to, feel free to put them in the chat. We have a couple more questions. Grant again asks, he says, why REDX over Mojo? So I don't know if you've used Mojo, but he's just wondering, what are the benefits that you've seen in REDX versus, I don't know if you've tried other places.
So yes, Grant, there are a lot of other companies. And why do I not use other companies? So I've been in the business 18 years. REDX has been around. How long? How long's REDX been?
I want to say like 50. I'm going to go with 15. I
Yeah.
think the CEO is like right across the glass for me, so I hope that's
So
right.
you've been around almost as long as I have. I've used REDX off and on through my career since I started, and there have been enhancements that have been made. The one thing I would say, Grant, is that the cost comparison, I compared 5 different companies when I started back with REDX. I went away for a while and I came back to REDX. I've been back and forth, which is the beauty of REDX. The reason that I don't particularly like some of the other companies, one, the information, the way that it's stored. 2, I'm familiar with the system. But really, ultimately, the number one to me would go back to cost. To me, some of the other systems are cost prohibitive, and they don't give you the opportunity to go in and out of the system. You can turn it on, turn it off, and the accessibility. I don't have to buy all systems. Now, I haven't been on the other one in a little while, but I do have a spreadsheet that I actually keep on my computer, and I update it with the different costs. So I've checked REDX over the years many times, back and forth and sideways, and every time I've come back to REDX because the quality of the system, the information, the data. And that's one of the things that you hear a complaint about is the data that comes in. But ultimately, the data is coming from pretty much the same central locations. There might be some additions and some subtractions. So the data is the data, and you're going to have some numbers that are just going to be invalid because you could call my number right now and I might have blocked it because someone else used the number or whatever. So I prefer REDX because I've always come back to REDX. It's always been a simple system to use, and it's always been cost effective for me when I do the comparison to how many leads that I get. And we haven't gone over it yet, but I have 3 for sale by owners that come from my REDX phone calls. So we'll get into that, I'm sure, at some point. It paid for the system well over itself.
Oh, that
Does
is
that help?
awesome. Yeah, it seems like you've
Yeah.
done your homework for sure. So that was a perfect question to ask you. So thank you so much. Another question from Crystal Johnson. She said, would you recommend coaching if you were in a new market, and why do you feel that way?
So, Crystal, it's extremely important to have a great mentor. Whether you're calling that coaching or you're calling it mentoring would be my question. I think that both are important. If you're coachable, having a coach, I've had coaches off and on over the years. Yes, I think it's important. I just had the opportunity to mentor someone, and I don't know if she's on here, but if Penny is on here, she could chime in. But I had the opportunity to mentor her for quite some time. And one of the things that she even said to me was, thank you so much for all the mentoring and how professional of an agent that I have been with her. And that warms my heart. So, Crystal, yes, when I started out in the business, I had a mentor that was amazing. He told me things back then. Remember, that's way back in the past. But he told me things like, go change your hair, go get yourself some really good headshots. Now you can do them with your camera. Then he went through all those basics with me. If you're brand new in the business, yes, having a mentor, having a coach is a great idea. It's going to give you that fast track start. You have so much more accessible now than I had. You have YouTube, you have all these different channels and these different ways of gathering information, but having someone one-on-one that has all that past experience, and they've run through things like maybe you have competing offers or maybe you have whatever, and it's all based on what your legality is in your state. But yes, having a mentor, having a coach is extremely important. It is worth its weight in gold. If you share I don't know what they do nowadays in your location, but there was a time when you shared 3 transactions. It is well worth its weight in gold. You will make that 10 times over. If you have a great mentor, you're going to start out on the right track. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Perfect. This is amazing. So much information and knowledge from someone who's been in the business for a while. I'm loving this, learning a lot. So let's get back to those 3 for sale by owners. You gave us a little bit of a taste and then we went on to the next question. So I want to hear about that. Did you get those recently?
Well, those have been in the last couple of months. And one of them in particular that I'll go back to started before COVID. And I made a phone call. I did use REDX, made the phone call from REDX, followed up just like I had said. I made the phone call, sent the little postcard out, right? Made another phone call, and they were both out of state. 2 sellers that were out of state. They had purchased a brand new home from a builder it had never been lived in. And we were able to take that property. It was the highest sale in the community. It was in St. Lucie County, highest sale in the community. So there was a lot that needed to be done. Did the open house before COVID. That was pre-COVID, obviously. Right before COVID, actually. And then we had a situation where the buyer of the property became ill. And this was
Oh,
pre-COVID. Then she was in the hospital, had heart surgery. So you can imagine how the two agents, how we had to work together as an amazing team. But it started out from a call on REDX. And I stayed in contact until we had that conversation. We did everything from long distance. We've never met. We never even actually did a video call back. Actually, we did. I apologize. We did one video call. And that was when he made a decision to actually sign. I forgot that we did do the video. So we did do a call and video. And then they signed their paperwork. I listed the property. We went through all the process, the marketing. When it got time for the contract, as I said, the buyer got into a situation where she had to have surgery, and then COVID hit. And everyone knows what happened when COVID hit. Everything came to a stop.
right.
Everything. So we ended up having to go back to old school. We actually had the documents mailed. And then she was able to sign the documents, and the buyer's agent went over, sat with her, and had the documents signed. There is actually there's a testimonial that is on a couple of sites as well out there. That is a testimonial from him and from his brother about how they were for sale by owners and how they could have never done it without me. And that speaks volumes, and that comes to the heart. And that's where the commissions are not the most important, because those are two people that otherwise, without me, that house would have sat vacant. It may have been vandalized. There could have been so many things that happened, and they knew nothing about Florida real estate. They happened to be, one of the brothers was in Arizona, so they didn't know anything about it. Yep. So that's one. The other one here recently, we just closed on as well. It was a couple who it was a son and mother who had completely redone the property. And the 3D tour was one of the biggest, most important things for them, because again, we went through COVID with that property. Yeah. So that was the second. The third one was, I just closed on, not this past Friday, but the Friday before. And he is now in a luxury community. He is so excited. And he had been trying to for sale by owner his property for over 2 years. And that was also a call from REDX. He had taken it on and off the market. He was a pilot. He was out of town. And there's also a testimonial from him that's online also. So those were three that just came from REDX. So if you stick with it, yes, it works. You just have to stay with it.
I love that. Yeah, I love it. And it sounds like business is still happening, so as long as you're calling. So there is a question from Crystal that I really want to get to. Another one. She said, I originally signed up for sale by owners, expireds, GeoLeads, and Storm Dialer for about 4 months. I found I was not using 3/4 of the service. What would you recommend getting started? So you're beginning prospecting. What is your holy grail? What do you go to, or what should someone start with?
I personally love for sale by owner. I would bring it down to just for sale by owner, Crystal. I would follow that system, practice your scripts. They pop right up. You can pull other scripts from online. You can integrate, you can copy those, paste them right into REDX. Get a partner, go in front of the mirror, do it on your computer, whatever, but practice those scripts until you have the ability to speak those almost in your sleep. That's one of the first. Practice those scripts, because when you get on the phone, you don't want to be stumped by a seller that says, well, what are you going to do about X, Y, and Z? So I have a manual. I don't have it here, but I have a manual that's about this thick of objections, different types of scripts. I've been practicing them. I used to practice them in my car. I've practiced them for my entire length of time in this business, my entire career. So I would focus on one. I would focus on for sale by owners. I would have a nice little postcard, like I keep flashing up, something simple. Have a simple one created, inexpensive, but it keeps you in contact with them. And that's what I would do, Crystal. I would focus on one, for sale by owner. Get really good at that. Just keep doing it every day. Practice is going to get you into it. Over time, it'll become easier. And I would just do the one. Storm Dialer for me, I personally like engaging and creating that relationship with my sellers. So Storm Dialer wasn't something that I prefer, although I do know many people that they use the dialer and they consistently but they might make 150 phone calls. They might make 1,000 phone calls. When you're starting out, just get on the phone. Just do it. It's really hard to. Here's something else that I have for you, Crystal. This one right here. Just get out. See, it tells me. It says, get out of your own way. And I keep that for a reason, because I have to get out of my own way all the time.
Yeah, I've heard agents say that, like, start with one thing, like you said in the beginning, find your niche, find something that you actually like to call, like for sale by owners. And I've heard a lot of people like geo leads because it's a lot less of a intense conversation. But start off a little small, and then once you get more confident, then add more things. Because if you buy everything in every place, then you'll get overwhelmed and not even do any calls because you're too intimidated by everything. So that's awesome. A couple more questions. Speaking of your postcard, Chadwick wants to know where you get those made.
It's Fast Color Printer, but you would need to look online, because if you just Google Fast Color Printer, it's going to come up with a different company. So it's Fast Color Printing, Fast Color Printer. We could actually load it if you want to later, either in the Facebook Live, and I can send it to you. They're super inexpensive. You can get thousands of postcards where you just put that black right on the back. Just take a permanent marker, make it a whatever postcard, whatever you want it to say, and then use that black magic marker on the back while you're sitting there. It's handwritten, so they know that you've actually taken the time to write it. My handwriting is not great, so I just write it out and drop it in the mail at that time. So we'll get you that information. We can put that in the bottom after the call.
Yeah, for sure. We can. Okay. If you just send us that link, and then we'll also put it on our website on Tamela's podcast page if you're listening to this afterwards. Okay, another question from Crystal. She says, do you have and use a pre-listing book?
So there are two things that you can do now. Yes, throughout my entire career, I have had a listing book. It has been updated. It has been changed. It has gone through. It's a living document, Crystal. So wherever you create it, just know that it's a constant living document. Yes, have a listing book. You can also have a pre-listing that you can drop off at their house ahead of time for sale by owner. And your listing book now can be a lookbook, and you can do it online. You can use, there's a couple of different formats that you can use, but you can create a lookbook online now, and you can create it so that it's an online format for your listing presentation, so that you can actually do a Zoom call. You can pop up the screens right to the side, and you can actually walk them through your listing presentation. One really important thing as you work through this, Crystal, because it sounds like you really are excited about what you're doing, make sure you get those testimonials. I don't care where you get them from. Third-party testimonials you need for people. As soon as you get that first sale, that buyer or seller, get that testimonial. Whatever, you can get it on Rate My Agent. You can get it on all these different platforms. Get a copy and save it for yourself. I have some that go all the way back to the beginning of my career. And that's another. Can I expand upon what Crystal asked before? Can I take a moment to do that? So one of the things Crystal said, if you start with for sale by owner, and you develop the for sale by owner, and then you get a listing in that area, that development that you like, or that area that you like. Now you have your for sale by owner, you've listed them, that's your new listing. Now, once you have that listing, you go to geo leads, and you take the geo leads and you call around your new listing to introduce yourself to all the people that are in the neighborhood and tell them that you've just listed the property. So I think that expands upon what Crystal was asking, which is you've developed your abilities in for sale by owner. You've made your calls in for sale by owner. You've practiced your scripts. You have your first listing. Now what do I do? Well, the next step that you do is you buy geo leads, and you take the geo leads, and now you call all around that, and you introduce yourself to your new listing. You could even get their emails, and you could also put those right in REDX where it's already stored, and then you can send them out a mass email of a virtual tour of that property as soon as you have it. Now you've covered COVID. Now you've gotten in contact with all the neighbors in the neighborhood, and now you've developed your farm area, and now you can start staying in contact.
Amazing. Crystal, I hope, wow, that was an amazing answer. So thank you so much for asking, Crystal, as well. And there's a few people that want us to do a quick role play. So we're about out of time, but if you don't mind, we could do a quick for sale by owner role play to end it off. Okay, sweet. I will be the for sale by owner.
Ring, ring. Hello.
Hi.
Hey there, this is Tamela. I was just calling. It seems that you have your house on the market, and I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about it today.
Um, yeah, we need to get off to we're moving to Texas hopefully soon for my husband's job. And the market's really good right now for people, so we're trying to sell our property. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath. Do you have any buyers that are interested?
Well, I could potentially have some buyers. It sounds like it's a great property. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath is what you were saying. And the price that you're asking for that, it might be a little bit low for the market right now because we have low inventory. How did you come to that price?
I honestly, it was my husband looking around our neighborhood and seeing what other houses have been selling for, and then also kind of what we need to cash out. So
Excellent. Well, that's great to know. And I was curious, where are you marketing that property? I found it on Zillow. Are there other sites that you were able to market it on at this point?
Zillow, I posted on Facebook as well, but that's about it.
Excellent. So I understand from our conversation that you're relocating because of your husband's job and that you posted it on a couple of websites. I'm curious, have you entertained the idea of working with an agent?
That's a good question. I think if we were to list, my brother's an agent, but I mean, after all, we probably would get more for our buck just because I don't want to pay commissions and things like that. So that's for that.
Excellent. Well, I understand how you feel, and I've dealt with many other people who have felt the same way. And what I found is that sometimes I can actually take the price of the property, add the commission to it, and then be able to sell your property for more. I can understand also having a family member. I was curious, is there an opportunity for me to see the property other than the pictures? Do you have any video of the property or a way for me to have an opportunity to see this property?
I don't have a video. I mean, I don't care if you come over and look at the property.
So you would allow and you would entertain the opportunity for me to come by and see it. That would be great. So would Thursday at 3:15 be good, or would Wednesday at 9:30 a.m.? I only need to come by for about 15 minutes.
Okay. Let's do, does Thursday at 2 work?
You know what? Thursday at 2 works great. Let's plan on Tuesday at 2. I'll stop by for about 15 minutes. I won't take up a lot of your time, and I really appreciate the call. In the meantime, could I get your email address just so I have it? I have your phone number, and if something happens and we need to communicate between now and then.
Yeah, sorry, just one last thing. I with an agent, I am worried a little bit about the pandemic. Is there, I mean, I don't want people coming into my house and things like that. If you just came over, we just stay outside and that's fine?
Well, there's a lot of things that I can do, actually. So if you're completely against me coming into your property, there is something that we can do. Would you be interested in doing a video tour of your property and walk me around your house as well? That's something that we could do if that would be of interest.
That seems pretty easy. I think maybe we could just do that.
Okay, so if you're interested in doing that, then one of the things I can do is send you a link. We can set up a time. Do you still want to do that Thursday at 2 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's set this up for Thursday at 2 p.m. We'll take about 15 minutes. I'm going to work with you with the technology to make sure that you have technology available, because one of the things that I offer to sellers is the technology so that we can prevent them from having that situation where you don't want people into your property. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah,
Great.
sounds safe to me.
So I'm going to need your email in order to be able to do that. So if you will, give me your email. I'll go ahead and take that information down. I'll send you over a quick email to follow up, and then I'll see you on the video on Thursday at about 2 p.m.
Amazing.
So we've picked out several things. One, we know you're relocating. One, we know that your brother is in the business. The other one that we know is that you're not necessarily comfortable with people coming in. So technology is going to be extremely important for me to share with you and how I handle that. And the other one is I got your email. So if you don't want to answer your phone, I now have your email as well. So I can send you information and follow up that way and be of service.
That was awesome. So easy to talk to. Like I'm just trying to come up with objections in my head. Like, oh yeah, you handled it so great. That was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're running out of time here, but I just want to give you the last word here. Do you have any last things that you want to tell our audience to finish off?
We can share my information down below if somebody wants to reach out. So we'll do that, right? Or wherever we're at on the screen, because it may not necessarily be below. It might be up top. Depends on where it is.
Right.
The other things that I would share is consistency is extremely important. Stay consistent, stay with it. You know, this industry has afforded me the opportunity to raise my daughter as a single mom. It's allowed me the opportunity to really help others and receive back. I had a client on Friday that had me in tears on the phone because we got through their transaction, and I've helped their whole family. And stay in contact. They want to hear from you. They want to know what's happening in the business. Be the expert. You know, right now we're at like 42%, and don't quote me exactly, but that's the last one I heard. 42% of the homeowners in the United States they own 100% free and clear of their house. So calm their fears. A lot of people are afraid of what's going to happen. Be the expert. Educate them. We're really in a very lucrative business, and we get paid a lot of money to do what we do. And it really is important to remember that these are people's lives. This is their home. This is where they might raise a family, into family. They might be going through traumatic times. You don't know why they're upset or why they might need to sell. It could be good, it could be bad, but be there for them. Because I've found over all the years that I've been in this business, the number one thing, we're here to serve and to help. And if you come from that helpful heart, it's truly amazing. So yeah, reach out to me if you'd like to. We'll have my contact information. We can reach out on all the social media. I am on Facebook. I'm on all of it. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was a perfect way to end it. And yes, to everybody, we will have all of her contact information in the show notes and things like that if you want to reach out. Thank you so much, Tamela. A lot of people are saying thank you in the chat. So you've helped a lot of agents out today. So thank you for taking your time. And to our audience, thank you so much for listening and tuning in and asking your questions. For those who are listening to this afterwards, make sure that you come to our live shows where you can ask our guests live questions and get all of your questions answered. So that wraps up it for today, but we will see you guys back here Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks again, and we'll see you Wednesday.
thank you.